Okay, seems it's going now. Okay. Do you have any agenda or anything you want to talk about today?
Um, well, I think my main interest, I think you've caught up with Cole at KubeCon. I didn't get a chance to catch up with you um
Hmm.
or to see your talk. One of the things I think that we're interested in from a few different perspectives is like the from the Entoto community, how we can really get uh more support everywhere for in toto attestations, and that kind of build
Hmm.
out the predicate library. And we just donated Witness and Archivista as sub projects to Entoto, so it's a really
Yeah.
nice pluggable framework there. We can enable something like notation to sign the attestations that we generate, if or when that's possible, to kind of and I think we have to figure out all the formatting stuff, like Intoto uses Dizzy. I also think that that should be pluggable, or something that you can specify if you want to use Cosay or something else. I think the spec is technically flexible enough to allow that, but I don't think there's any implementations that do that. And we're also
So
chatting. Yeah, go ahead.
I actually that is great that uh, you're joining. And yes, I talk actually. Milind and we've been talking before KubeCon even, that actually we would like to look at in total and see all the attestations, how we can. Uh, I I really I need to go and look at in total again and what you guys doing. So I was playing with it like a couple of months ago. I looked at what you have in kind of Witness and Archivista also. One of the things that I haven't had time, honestly, to sit down and think about, but maybe here is where you can help us as a community, is kind of the different scenarios that you guys are targeting, and where you, for example, see for Notary project playing a role, especially around those attestations. So one of the things that you mentioned is, yes, signing the attestations with notation. That is one of the kind of the basic things that we were also thinking of. But um, I was also looking at different types of data that we add throughout the secure supply chain pipeline. Specifically for us internally, we add things like uh, similar to salsa provenance, and I wanted to go and actually talk with salsa folks to add some additional fields there, not just kind of the build agents and so on. But we have things like something that we call lifecycle metadata for the image, that we also want to wrap in Toto and sign it. So those are kind of the things that it will be good to spin up those conversations. And we're looking for also for you guys, if you have any specific scenarios, let's talk them through and figure out how we can go and implement them.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. We're working with a customer right now. They just proposed the idea of a attestation for open source program office approval. So when they
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
everything coming in from upstream, they mirror it all internally, because you have to do that, right? And so
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they go through their lengthy internal review process, check the licenses, do whatever else, they want to create an attestation that's signed that says this group says you can use this dependency in your project, and then you can have a policy later on that validates that every dependency you're using is actually in compliance with that policy. So yeah, there's
I
a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, all kind of things that happened throughout the supply chain, right? People want to attest about that. I actually did a demo on the Azure bot, which is a little bit specific to Azure, but it has very similar things. Like when you get the image, let's say copy image from Docker Hub into your own registry, right? You may want to run some validations there and say, yeah, I put my stamp of approval and I say, okay, this image can be used internally. Uh, I see a lot of actually customers of ours doing that. So they don't pull directly from uh, Docker Hub. I had recently also a conversation with a customer who said, I would like to, it was related to vulnerabilities and back statements. So can they go and say, look, I know that there is this vulnerability. I will create a back statement to say that this vulnerability is not impactful for my application. But I also want to make sure that actually it's official statement, it is signed, not somebody faking it, right? So we had this conversation with them. But yeah, all these things, one thing that we can do is we first, once again, I really am happy that you guys are looking at that, and I really think that we should collaborate much closer on these things. That's why, as I said, I think Milind talked with Santiago at KubeCon. I talked with Frederick and Cole. I really want to start attending your meetings just to listen in and kind of get better educated on that space. But if you already have some ideas, we'll be happy to start kind of exploring them and even working on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have to, similarly, I need to dig into the project to get again a bit more. It's been a while since I've taken a look at the details. But yeah, I definitely will start trying to capture some of those ideas and thoughts and kind of see where we can take things.
And I'm planning to spend now during the holidays, because it's a little downtime, more time of thinking a little bit more about scenarios and not just being in the weeds and fixing stuff and putting fires out. So most probably I'll go and actually put some documents I'll share with you. I can also share kind of the video of the talk I did, so you can see what actually we were thinking about. That can give you some idea, at least what our or my thinking is of this type of attestations. But we certainly would like to get them more standardized than what we currently do, like with annotations on OCI and so on.
Yeah, that's a whole other put the whole registry OCI stuff. And Archivista today is not strongly opinionated about the backend storage of things, and so we for testing we do just a flat file storage. You can have a object storage, but we're getting more and more requests for like an OCI storage backend, but then still having that that graph data on top of it as a separate API lets us sidestep some of the complexity there of just we can have the graph information tell us exactly where the attestation itself is, and not have to worry about if it gets put somewhere different because of a different type of tool or something. Like, as long as it comes in the right way and gets uploaded into Archivista, we can just use a registry for storing it, because that's what a lot of people have in a lot of different environments, rather than setting up a new object store deployment or something. Yeah.
And I do not remember. So your graph data, that is not based on Guac, or is it?
No, it's separate. It actually started before Guac.
Yeah, I remember that. So Guac is pretty new.
And it's less, it dives deeper. It doesn't dive as deep down into the predicates themselves today. Well, and maybe that's the first most important difference. Not everything in Guac is trusted. because they're not all attestations. Everything that's in Archivista has to be an attestation. And so we mostly are mapping and graphing out the subjects and the relationships there, so you can effectively write a policy that goes from there's the git commit at the beginning and the binary artifact at the end. How do you connect all the different attestations for all the things that happened in between there with only knowing the one thing at the end and maybe the thing at the beginning. And so that the graphing of the subjects allows us to kind of make all of those connections and invalidate policies. We've had some conversations right now about like how much deeper to go into that. I think the big, question is just like how standardized the predicates become before we start trying to do that. Because if everybody's using different predicates everywhere, and like it'll be a lot of effort, I think, to build out all of that. And also, like as we scale up the company and the community, I think we'll have more. It's just, I think a lot of it's just a matter of time. And we may be able to use some of the things that Block is doing to help out with that. So similarly, where we don't have strong opinions about the storage, like it doesn't have to be local storage either. It could be Block as an external data source. So
makes sense. So on the predicates, you said that if everybody is using different predicates, so what is the do you drive already some kind of effort to really standardize on those predicates? Do you have? I remember I've seen like when I was looking at the South of Provenance, right? And there are 4 or 5 right now that are relatively standardized, right? South of Provenance being one of them. There were a few others which I didn't dig deeper into, but is that the kind of are you getting more acceptance of standardizing on those, or?
I think we're getting a lot more interest in creating them. We've had a few issues, and I'm not as deeply involved in there's a specific working group maybe for in toto attestations, and they talk every week about that. The most recent one is a verification summary attestation, so you can actually, rather than having to continue passing on all the evidence of all the attestations, you can capture in an attestation that the policy passed or failed, what the evidence was, what the like the hash of the policy. Maybe you can look it up, maybe you can't. And that like I think that'll be really useful to give that the ability to establish trust in the thing doing the verification, even if you can't see the evidence, or like you can see the result of the policy, but you might not be able to see everything else.
Yeah, that is actually one similar thing that we've been looking at, which is here is the scenario. So, we have these admission controllers like Gatekeeper and Kyverno, right? So Kyverno and Gatekeeper are going into the direction to let's implement like policy, for example, for signatures and additional policy for SBOM. And if the SBOM has certain packages or certain licenses, then another policy for vulnerabilities, right? I want to stop everything that has high and critical vulnerabilities, or I want to stop any deployment of images that have certain like CVE, like Log4j or something. But when you look at that, right, you need to do too many actually evaluations, right? And what you were just explaining sounds to me like, okay, can I get like every day I can go and create this attestation and say, okay, today the image is still kind of safe to use for deployment, right? And it's a very small, compact thing that you can verify pretty fast, because all these admission controllers, they have some timeouts that they follow. And if you read like SBOM, which is like a couple of megabytes, another vulnerability report, couple of megabytes, so this timeout pretty fast will go out, right? So is that something that you just explained, or is it with different intention in mind?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the primary use cases of something like that, being to kind of
Hmm.
accelerate that admission control. So actually, I was working on an emission controller for our stuff as well, and um, just trying to do a tag resolution of a container image is enough to, like, you go query a registry to download the manifest to see what the digest is because you don't want to approve a policy based on a tag, and like that is enough. That one external network request is enough to have the policy timeout. And then of
Hmm.
course I was using Docker Hub when I was developing this, and then I started hitting rate limits because it was evaluating the policy so frequently, and I was just like, oh goodness, this is
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's,
Okay, I feel
that's
your pain now. I feel your pain. Um, in coming back to kind of those attestations and the search stuff, another thing that we have a problem and our customers have a problem is uh, vulnerability management is one of the big things that we see like a lot of customers doing. But what happens is that those scanners that actually scan the images on the runtime, for example, they not very often actually have the mapping between the tag and the digest, and everything gets reported by digests. And customers are like, look, I know that this digest is present on the runtime. How can I go and figure out what is the tag of this digest or what it was tagged at some particular time when it got deployed? And this is a nightmare right now. So I guess like your Archivista can provide this ability to query and go and say, this digest, when it was deployed right on this machine, it had this particular tag. Um, that is one of the problems that, like, right now many customers are really complaining, and they say all this vulnerability management is not very helpful because I get a bunch of reports, bunch of things with digests. It's not structured in a way that actually I can even make sense of, okay, if what do I need to do? I don't know what this digest is. Is that Python 3.10? Is it Python 3.13? Is it something else? I have no idea. Right. So they've been complaining to us all the time, right? And I hear that also from some of the scanning vendors like Aqua and um, so ability to search through that and saying, okay, this is what happened, and having a fast way to go and report on it would be helpful.
Yeah, and the that's one of the nice parts about, like, so we have the pluggable architecture for signing, but also for the attestations that we create for everything that we observe, and we have a tester for OPI which captures a bunch of that information, and then they can all be subjects. So you can have a subject for the digest and a subject for the tag, and then make those relationships when you query. It still needs some work. It's and it's more, I think it's, I'll blame OCI in the spec more than than the way it's implemented right now. But it's like every build tool, we have to kind of do something slightly different. If you're building with BuildKit, what you get out looks a little bit different than if you're building with Co or what you're building.
Mhm.
And then, we're usually observing that build process, which then, if the build process, the end result is it pushes the image somewhere and there's no resulting file, then we have a harder time attesting to what was actually produced, because we have to trust the SHA like output or results rather than seeing the actual image itself.
Mhm. Yeah, one thing that actually we demoed at KubeCon for a Notary project is how you can sign locally. That's how we call it, which means that instead using build, a Docker build to send the image directly to the registry, we export it in a OCI format, keep it on the machine. So you have the image locally, you have the signature locally, you can actually build everything, and then you can push it to the registry, or you can distribute it in a different way. So that is one of the things that we are doing in Notary project as kind of supporting a scenario, not only for images, but also for other artifacts like S-bombs, because you want to build everything on the build machine before you actually go and push it and verify that the results are what you really have. Else, if somebody exploits the registry, right, they can send you whatever digest they want, right? So you're not guaranteeing that you're signing what you think you're signing.
Yeah, exactly. I that's a workflow that I would definitely like to see more people using, is to make your image, do everything locally on it, make sure that it passes whatever your, essentially what your organizational policy is before you put it in a registry. And there's a lot of tools that don't support that yet, but we're getting there slowly but surely, I think.
Slowly, yeah. We have scenarios where actually the registry is not accessible when you, like air gap scenarios where you actually need to transfer the image in a different way, not directly saying push to the registry, right? That is another thing that we have certain customers interested in.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of opportunity. I think I'll be we've got a couple of people starting at the beginning of December, so I think then we'll definitely be able to ramp up a bit more and get more involved with everything. So
let's figure out how we can actually first make it easy for you folks to attend our meeting. So that's why we have this Thursday meeting for the intention was also to have folks from Docker because they are UK based. So we had conversation with them. They will hopefully start actually attending those meetings. For you, it will be more convenient, and we can have those conversations here. And as I said, so happy to like figure out the best way so we can collaborate and get those things forward.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah. Okay. I will add this to the notes, as I said. So we are looking at that. I am trying to schedule rework my schedule so I can start attending in total meetings and get from the firehouse, like what you guys are thinking there.
Yeah, well, definitely. If you have any questions, if there's anything I can help with, let me know. And yeah,
Will do.
it'll be great to have more people in all the different communities. So
Yeah, certainly. Okay. I think I don't see anybody else joining today.
right.
People are getting in a holiday mood, I guess.
Very much so.
Yeah. Next Thursday will be Thanksgiving, so most probably we'll cancel this one. But okay, really nice seeing you. You were at KubeCon, right? Or did you attend?
I was mostly stuck at the booth the whole time or running around doing different demos and conversations. So it was a crazy couple of days.
Yeah, it was similar for me. I tried to kind of talk with some people, but there were a few people that actually I couldn't find, or there was no time to go and talk with. But it was helpful. One of the things that I didn't like was how the project pavilions were organized. And your booth also was not in very central place. It was more towards the what was that, the shop, and
yeah.
Did you guys get enough traffic there, or?
Yeah, I think we had a lot of traffic just from people going to pick up their shirts because everybody wanted their free shirt.
You were right on the way there. Yeah.
And also, I think with having Fred is one of the co-chairs at the conference, really got the name out there. Even with like, you don't have to say anything about the company, but just knowing like, oh, Fred works at Testify Sec, and so I think that was, and there were donating witness and archivista as well. I think helped because in some of those maintainer track talks, they were able to talk about those projects, and then
Okay.
people
Yeah.
saw the logos on there and stuff. So that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the notary project booth was the kiosk was really in the corner. There was not too much traffic, only people who were either hurt. The good part was, as you said, Fred mentioned that in the keynote. So people came after that, but such traffic, like random traffic, no, it was,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So really nice seeing you. I'm really glad to hear that you guys are making progress. And by the way, congratulations on the funding also.
Thank you.
Yeah, forgot about that, but yeah, congratulations. So looking forward to work together.
Yeah, me too. So
Mhm.
we'll chat again soon.
Okay. Yeah. See ya.
Bye.